From Apple's peak to a new chair, Tim Cook's departure and a billion-dollar legacy. It is a deep night. Like millions of iPhone users around the world, some people are reading Apple news on their phone screens. One name is appearing again and again. Tim Cook. The same Tim Cook who took charge of Apple after Steve Jobs. The same Tim Cook about whom the world once used to ask whether this man would be able to save Apple. And now that same man is going to leave the CEO's chair. The fear is that one of the world's biggest companies is suddenly standing at a turning point. The curiosity is whether this is just a change of position or that moment in Apple's history after which everything will slowly begin to change. And the biggest question, after such a long journey, how much wealth, how much legacy, and how many unfinished challenges is Tim Cook leaving behind? This story is not just about the resignation of a CEO. It is the story of a man who was seen less on stage, but kept running one of the world's most powerful companies from the inside in such a way that every quarter, every launch, every supply chain move looked like a calculated step. Apple has officially said that from the 1st of September 2026, Tim Cook will step down from the post of CEO and move into the role of executive chairman, and John Ternus will become Apple's next CEO. That means this is not a complete farewell from the company, but a shift from the front seat to the strategy seat. When Tim Cook took charge of Apple in 2011, after Steve Jobs, there was more doubt than trust in the world. Jobs was a vision, a personality, a stage presence. Tim Cook was not that kind of leader. There was not the same theatrical effect in his voice, nor the same dramatic electricity in his launches. But many times, history is written by those very people who stay away from the spotlight and make systems flawless. Cook did exactly that. He did not just help Apple survive, but turned it into such a disciplined giant that its value has now crossed $4 trillion. Tim Cook's greatest strength was not standing on the poster of innovation, but taking innovation to every corner of the world. After joining Apple in 1998, he sharpened operations and supply chains so much that Apple stopped being just a company that launches products and became an example of global execution. That is why iPhone, iPad, Mac, and later Apple Watch, AirPods, and the services ecosystem together made Apple far bigger than just a hardware brand. Under his tenure, services like Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, and Apple Pay became stronger, and the company deepened its ecosystem so much that the customer stopped buying just a product and began buying an entire digital life. This is also where the real difference between Tim Cook and Steve Jobs becomes clear. Jobs gave Apple a new language, but Cook turned that language into the world's most profitable business grammar. He gave the company more stability than noise. He took risks, but measured ones. He kept speed, but with control. That is why many analysts see Tim Cook as the architect who gave a beautiful glass house a hidden steel structure. From the outside, people kept seeing the same Apple, but from the inside, the company kept becoming an even bigger, more disciplined, and more cash-generating machine. Now let us come to the question that pulls the most people in. What exactly is Tim Cook's net worth? According to Forbes' real-time estimate, as of April 2nd, 2026, Tim Cook's net worth was estimated at around $2.9 billion. This amount becomes enormous in Indian rupees. But the interesting thing is that Tim Cook, who runs a $4 trillion company, does not have a personal stake as large as founder-led tech billionaires. According to Forbes, he holds more than 3 million Apple shares, but his stake in the company is still less than 1%. This means his wealth is very large, but compared to Apple's size, it still looks surprisingly limited. His annual earnings have also remained a major topic of discussion. Based on Apple's proxy filing, Tim Cook's compensation package in 2025 was around $74 million. This is not just salary, but a package made up of stock awards, incentive payouts, and other components. From the perspective of an ordinary person, this looks like an astronomical amount, but at Apple's scale, board compensation is seen in relation to leadership retention, performance alignment, and shareholder value. This is that phase of the corporate world where the value of one right decision can be in the billions, and the cost of one wrong decision can be even greater. But understanding Tim Cook's story only through wealth would be incomplete. The real question is how much he changed Apple. Under Cook's leadership, Apple's market value rose from around $350 billion to nearly $4 trillion. This is not just a stock market rise, it is the combined result of investor confidence, product stickiness, global expansion, and ecosystem loyalty. In January 2nd, 2026, Apple said that its active installed base had reached 2.5 billion devices. This means that through billions of devices around the world, Apple is present every day in people's pockets, wrists, desks, ears, and work. One more special aspect of Cook's era was the shift to Apple Silicon. When Apple moved its Mac lineup away from Intel chips and toward its own silicon strategy, it was not just an engineering decision. It was a decision about power, efficiency, control, and future independence. This move made Apple even stronger in hardware and software integration. Executives like John Ternus played an important role in this on the hardware side. And perhaps that is also why, for succession, Apple trusted an internal hardware veteran instead of an outsider. John Ternus' name is important now for another reason too, because he is not some face that appeared suddenly. According to Apple's official profile, he joined the product design team in 2001, later rose to hardware engineering leadership, and became part of the executive team in 2021. He has led work on categories like iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple Watch, AirPods, and Apple Vision Pro. That means Apple's next CEO will not be a financial operator, but a leader emerging from the engineering backbone. There is a future message hidden in this decision. Apple now needs a person who can translate hardware strength into the next era. That is, the AI age. And this is exactly the place where concern mixes with excitement in the story. Tim Cook's tenure was outstanding, but no legacy is spotless. In recent times, questions have kept being raised about Apple appearing behind its rivals in the generative AI race. Reuters also described this transition as a turning point for the AI age. Vision Pro created buzz, but it could not deliver the kind of mass-market impact that iPhone, AirPods, or Apple Watch did. There has also been increasing discussion about the gap between expectations and reality regarding Siri. The meaning is clear. Cook is handing over an extremely strong empire, but that empire is now about to enter a new battlefield. Another way to understand Tim Cook's leadership is this. He kept Apple comparatively steady even through periods of controversy, geopolitical tensions, and supply chain pressure. When the world was talking about chip shortages, China dependency, manufacturing risk, and global uncertainty, Apple still did not let its model completely fall apart. That is why many people see Cook not as a showman, but as a statesman CEO. He was the kind of leader who kept Apple's growth engine running smoothly, even when the headlines were not always in his favor. He sold less excitement and more confidence. The interesting thing is that Tim Cook's personal image remained very much like his corporate style. Measured, controlled, polished. He was not one of those CEOs who shake the market daily by making new statements. He kept discipline in his public life, maintained weight even by speaking less, and kept moving the company forward with a brand-first culture. Perhaps that is why his departure feels not like an explosion, but like a silent but historic transition. As if a captain has brought the ship safely to steady waters and is now handing the steering over to the next hands. Now look at the emotional side of this story. In 2011, when Tim Cook became CEO, many people felt that Apple's golden era had perhaps ended with Steve Jobs. But today, in 2026, when Cook is changing roles, the discussion is not about failure, but about legacy. This in itself is a very big thing. It is not easy to take over the chair after a great founder. Even more difficult than that is writing your own separate chapter under the burden of comparison. Cook did exactly that. He did not try to become a copy of Jobs. He ran Apple in his own way, and perhaps that was his greatest success. The challenge in front of John Ternus is now clear. On one side, he has to handle a company that is already very large. On the other side, he has to prove that Apple's next phase will not be just about stability, but about fresh momentum too. AI, hardware integration, services, expansion, China risk, regulatory pressure, and consumer excitement. All of these will stand in front of him at the same time. Tim Cook has given him an extremely strong stage, but in today's tech world, a strong stage is not enough. The next act on it must also be unforgettable. And in the end, the question bigger than Tim Cook's net worth is this. What is his real legacy? Is it $2.9 billion? Is it an annual package of $74 million? Is it more than 3 million Apple shares? Or is it that he took one of the world's most scrutinized companies forward for 15 years with steady growth, brand trust, and financial power? Perhaps the truth is that his biggest earning is not recorded in a bank account, but in Apple's scale, impact, and discipline. That is why Tim Cook's departure does not feel like just an executive change. It feels like a bridge between two different phases of leadership. One phase that brought Apple out of the post-job shock. The other phase that has to take Apple into an AI-driven future. And this is where the most interesting turn of the story is hidden. Tim Cook is definitely going, but not completely. John Ternus is definitely coming, but not in easy times. Apple is the same. The logo is the same. The world's obsession is the same. But the moment the chair changes, the questions change too. And now the whole world will watch whether Apple's next chapter will shine just as brightly, or whether for the first time it will have to struggle under the weight of its own legacy. If this video has taught you something new, or if you feel this information should reach more people, don't forget to like and share the video. Your small share can become valuable and useful information for someone else. If you have any questions related to this topic, or if you would like to share your opinion with us, be sure to write in the comment box. We read every question and suggestion from you, because your feedback inspires us to create better content. And if you want to keep receiving such interesting and reliable information about business, the economy, and the world in the future, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel GRT Business and also press the bell icon so that you get notifications of every new video directly. At GRT Business, we always strive to provide you with accurate, balanced, and reliable information. Our news and analysis are prepared based on information obtained from various news agencies, public sources, and public opinion. We make every effort to verify and validate each fact as much as possible. But in case of any possible error or dispute, the responsibility lies with the respective sources. Our only aim is to present you with a correct and trustworthy perspective so that you can understand any topic better.